Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I know it's a bit late, so thank you very much for taking, your personal time to meet with us tonight. So welcome to our workshop, How to Develop a Visitor Experience. My name is Hélène Pasquier. I'm a colleague of Charlotte that you might have met in the first workshop if you attend our first workshop earlier this month. And like Charlotte, I'm also working in the environment team at Norfolk County Council, and we are really focusing on sustainable tourism and also, supporting the development of very exciting experiences in Norfolk for the off-season. So you might hear a very, very slight French accent, and that probably makes a lot of sense. But actually, it gives me the opportunity to add a bit of context because, tonight we are going to focus on delivery of the experience project in Norfolk. But actually, this project is a collaboration with several partners. We are working with partners in the UK. So we are working with Cornwall, with Kent, but we have also some French partners in Brittany, in Pas-de-Calais, and in Compiègne. So my native language can be useful sometimes. But anyway, thank you very much again, and let's see what we are going to do tonight. So just to remind you, today is a follow-up session of the one that we had earlier this month with Chris from Unmissable England. During that session, he introduced the concept of experiential tourism. And if you have missed the first workshop, we actually do have a recording, so don't worry about it. We will send the link in the follow-up email. And also tonight, Chris will do a short summary of what we looked at last time. Tonight, we have prepared two activities for you to identify the unique stories that makes Norfolk very special. And you'll be working as a group on developing together your first experiential activity. And following the two activities, Chris will explain, how to price your experience, the importance of being bookable, and how to take your experience to market. And he's got also a little checklist and a few tips along the way for you. And toward the end of the session, we'll have, around 10-15 minutes to ask any questions to Chris. So really, if you have any questions tonight, just pop them in the chat and we will invite you to ask your question directly to Chris later on tonight. So before we actually start, I will do a few bits of housekeeping. So please make sure you keep your microphone muted at all times during the workshop, unless obviously we invite you to ask your question to Chris at the end. Also, something that is quite useful for us is if you could show your full name. That really helps us to know who is attending. So if you don't know how to do that, next to your name on the video, there's a more button or potentially 3 dots. So if you click on that, you should then be able to change your name. Also, if you have any connection issues, if you turn your video, that should really help. But otherwise, we really want to see you, so please keep it on. Another thing is, don't hesitate to use the chats. It's a very good way to introduce yourselves, let us know what type of experiential activities you're thinking of already. And also, it's a great way of, starting networking. So I don't know, for example, if you're looking for specific skills, or if you would like, I don't know, you have an idea, but you need a place to do it. If you want to team up with another business or another organization, just leave a comment. You might have some people tonight who are interested, who can help you. So yeah, take the most of it. We will send you a copy of the presentation and of the next steps. So, I mean, the whole presentation will be circulated, yeah, after the workshop. One more word about the recording. We will only record the main presentation. So your image, your name, and anything you write in the chat will not be recorded. You might see a message at the bottom of the screen saying that you can save the chat, but we have actually disabled this feature. That's just to let you know. Okay, so just before we actually start, I just wanted to give you a little overview of what we have done in the past year and a half on the project. We've gathered a lot of information actually, because the main aim of the project is to deliver 250 experiences and 100 itineraries. And to do that, actually, we've done a lot of work to understand what we already have in Norfolk, what we don't have, what people want. So you can see on the screen, for example, we've done a lot of research on the target markets. We've looked at our natural and cultural assets. We've looked at our unique selling points. We've done several type of surveys, to ask businesses what they need. A lot of surveys with residents around, what do they think around tourism? How does it affect them? And part of the project, we are also looking at having an art trail. So we've asked some questions around the arts. So it was there's quite a lot of useful information, and actually this evening I wanted to share a few of them because I think that's quite interesting for you and might be useful for you for tonight. Um, so we have held a number of surveys since the project started. And as I said, we have asked residents what they thought about the Norfolk unique selling points for the off season. And actually, we had really interesting results that are shown on the screen. So we have 7 broad categories. So, location, nature, descriptive, food and drink, activity, architecture, and heritage and culture. And so this is, a cloud of all the keywords that people replied. And we have a few surprises. For example, for nature, geese came on first, and that was a bit of a surprise. That was one of the most thought about from people in Norfolk. But just to let you know, we'll send around the slides, so you will have those information later on. We also asked residents what they think were special in their own district. So again, there's some interesting information. So we looked at each district. So we have South Norfolk, Norwich, and you can see, the keywords that are coming up. We have Breckland, North Norfolk, and we also have Broadlands, Great Yarmouth, and Kings Lynn. But yeah, that was, we were really encouraged to see that all the districts were very unique and individual. They actually look quite different, all of them. They all have their own special qualities and attractions. Even those that are a bit less traditional, known for their, very popular with tourists, such as South Norfolk or Breckland, they actually have a very strong identity, which is very interesting to know. Okay, so that was it. That was a very quick overview, but as I said, we will send you the information. And I just would like to introduce Chris, so who will start with actually the bulk of the presentation today. Hi, Chris.
Thanks, Helen, and good evening, everybody. Thanks to Helen for that introduction, and good to see you all on the call this evening. So if you've hopefully been on the Introduction to Experiential Tourism workshop, so I was going to give you a recap of that before we go into our activities, where we start looking at the stories to develop your own experience. So experiences are very much about the memories that you create within your experience, and whatever that memory might be, it's the memory that you want to give across in your experience that your guests will go and tell their friends and family, and even better, later will share on Instagram and Facebook. So those memories are very much formed around those stories. And we know when you create a new experience, it's linking up the resources, the goods, the services, the local stories, and the people, those four components working in collaboration. And that's why we're really encouraging you all this evening is to kind of reach out and chat to other people that you might see on the call this evening, or think of others that might not be here this evening that you might want to work with in order to create and develop and deliver your new experiences, because it's very much about working in partnership. It's very much about collaborating with all different types of businesses in your area. So when we come on to those stories later on, we want you to think about, will you be developing these experiences on your own, and will you be delivering them on your own, or will you be delivering with other people and businesses? And we've really seen wherever experiential tourism takes place here in the UK or around the world, it's really good economic value for a business. And just to recap on this, really, from a vineyard's point of view, so this can be applied to any different type of business. So with a vineyard with a vineyard business, they produce and grow the grapes, they produce and bottle wine, they might even do wine tasting tours on the vineyard, and actually that might be all that they do, but they could start offering experiences which will link in all of those things, where you can go and pick the grapes and go behind the scenes of the vineyards, see how bottling works, labeling works, and actually still get to taste that wine. But why not pair it up with local cheeses and crackers and a picnic, or a farm lunch including the wine? So it's linking up and working in collaboration with all those different things that you offer, but also with other businesses working in collaboration. And what we see every time when this happens, and again, it doesn't have to be just for a vineyard business, when experiences are delivered, we see greater economic value. So it's great opportunity to add to a new business or add to an existing business. And I also want to mention that, if you are already doing these kind of tours, but like the wine tasting tours, you can still have that as an existing product, but add another product, which is very much your experiences, which are, a little bit more in depth. They've got those emotional connections with your guests that will create those memories and have those stories developed through them. So they're not, we're not replacing experiences with your classic tour. If you're running tours, it's something to go alongside it, or you can adapt it. It's up to you. So a quick reminder on what we look for in making a good experience. And for everybody that's joined me before on these sessions, you'll know this is my own experience where I'm based in the Cotswolds, where guests come and they make scones in my cottage where I live. Small group of 4 people, and they get to make the scones using your family recipe, and we also give them a guided tour around the village, and they come back and enjoy the scones. So that's very much about the people meeting the local person. I'm the local person. It's my house in a village off the beaten track that most visitors will come and visit in the Cotswolds. It's a slightly different location than the honeypot destinations. So it's very much coming to meet local people. I'm not an expert in delivering, in actually cooking or baking. I just happen to enjoy baking, and that's fine. You don't necessarily need to be the expert in actually, or qualified in developing your experience and delivering it. As long as you've got a passion and an interest or a hobby, and you want to share your experience within an experience to others. Or you might be doing something where you do need a qualification, you do need expertise, And that's okay too. But don't get too stuck up on things when you think, oh, I'm not an expert in this. That's okay. It's very much about your experience being shared. The place is very much where you get to take your people on your experience. So in my case, it's going to a private home that's not usually open to Joe Public. It's a special access. So if you, in your experience, you can create a special place you can take your guests where we're going off the beaten track, behind the scenes of the museum, going to visit at nighttime rather than the daytime. Given that kind of feeling, that sense of escape as well as really important for guests at the moment. So the kind of the place of where you take people, but really importantly, and this is what makes an experience completely different to a classic tour, is the activity, the participation that you will do on your experience. So in my case, it's making the scones and the guided walk. In your case, it could be other activities. It could be cooking, baking, drawing, painting, making something. It could be doing a butterfly monitoring survey out in a field, or doing some wild cooking. Whatever it might be, it's good to include something that's fully hands-on, where your guests can actually get to do something, and it could be a whole range of different things. So you'll hear me talk a lot tonight about people, place and participation, and we've got our second activity. We'll really focus on those 3 P's: people, place and participation, and how you will develop that within your own brand new experience. So just to recap on our 5 top tips in creating an experience: the story, and that's what we're going to look at now in our first activity. So the story is key. Like all good stories, they have a start, middle and end, and they should flow all the way through your experience. So in the example on the screen there, this is Kevin, who runs an experience in Northumberland, Live Like a Roman, and in that experience you get to really live like a Roman in that experience, eating and drinking, and actually Kevin does a great job interpreting the landscape of how it would have been in the Roman times. So whatever your story is, come up with your story and stick with that story and tell it well. At 2, include food and drink, because guests get hungry. And again, this is where it's different to a classic tour. All food or drink, food and drink, or any admissions into a museum or into a brewery, is all included into the final price of your experience. Therefore, there are no hidden costs or extras or awkward moments in your experience. Guests already know what everything's going to be covered and paid for when they book. And it's great including local food and drink where possible, because you've got some really great stories all across Norfolk that you can actually link into the food and drink offer within your experience. And include some of the unexpected stories of Norfolk in your experience. And this is one of the things we're going to be looking at shortly, is actually identifying the hidden gems of Norfolk, things that people might just not know about the county or your part of the county, things you might know as a local or a business, but things that most tourists, people coming to the county, just wouldn't know. And these are the little things that tourists and visitors really love. So it could be a little nugget of information about the local geology, or it could be a bigger kind of links to big history that actually, did you know such and such came and visited here in 1842? Those kind of things are great. But also within your actual experience, it's nice to give guests a bit of a surprise. So include something that's a bit of an unexpected thing that they might do. It could be an activity, so it could be a hands-on thing that they weren't expecting to do. That's always quite fun, but give your guests a bit of a surprise, a bit of unexpected, because these again are the things that they will really remember within your experience. At 4, as well as including the unexpected, include the expected as well. This particularly works really well for the international guests, but particularly at the moment with guests here in the UK, because a lot of these kind of expected things are comfy, kind of friendly things like fish and chips on the beach, having a ploughman's lunch in an old English inn, visiting a brewery, all these kind of quintessentially Norfolk British English things that we all love to do. visitors would also love to do as well, as long as they're done really well and where possible. If you're doing a food and drink kind of expected, then make sure you're using Norfolk food, locally sourced food and drink. So don't be afraid to use some of the quintessential things in there, because visitors do really love them. And at 5, please keep it simple and be flexible. You'll know, if you're already working with Joe Public, you'll know that every guest is completely different and every group will be different on your experience. So you will need to be adaptable and flexible when you run your experience. Therefore, you might have a group that are particularly a little bit slow walking, or they just love chatting to you, and actually you need to get to A to B to C much quicker. So you might have to take out C, for example, and go straight to D. Or you might have a group that are really quiet and actually you're getting through your experience much quicker. So you might need a backup solution of a place or a venue you might go, or slip in for a cup of tea somewhere, those kind of things. So having that flexibility in mind and that approach will really help you when you actually come on to delivering your experience. Also, it's good when you're actually looking to take your experience to market, when you go and promote it and get people to book, because you'll find all different markets and audiences around the world have different approaches to things. So, you know, you might want to focus in the future on a particular market once we open back up to the world as well. So there's a lot in there to kind of think about, but that's why we're going to go straight into our first workshop this evening, activity 1, and we're going to break you off into various different groups, and in each breakout room you'll have a very friendly face of one of our facilitators this evening. They will introduce themselves and they will ask you to introduce yourselves one by one, and we just want to hear the type of experience that you are looking to develop. Just a broad idea, very quickly, just sharing that idea of what you would like to do. And then we're going to then workshop and actually look at the expected stories within your area of Norfolk. So what are the expected stories if you were never been to Norfolk before? What do you think guests' perception is of that area in Norfolk? What do you think guests already know? What do you think they would like to see? And then we'll compare that to the unexpected stories in the area. So things that you think guests just don't know. And actually you might be surprised, and this is the real fun bit really, is really saying, actually, is that really well known or is that unexpected? So there'll be a lot of that conversation going on, and don't hold back on those little local stories, those little hidden gems and little information things that you might know about your area. So we've got 25 minutes on our first activity. So you'll be greeted, as I say, by one of our facilitators, and we'll come directly back into this room in 25 minutes time, and we'll have a look at what everybody's been discussing. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Good to see you all coming back. Hope you had a good first activity. We're going to go around the rooms now and to kind of establish what each group came up with. And I know I've been touring around the rooms, and there's an awful lot of the expected and the unexpected stories as well. So Jackie, I'm going to come to you because your group, you had an amazing collection of both unexpected and the expected where you were as well. Take us through. You're in North Norfolk, weren't you?
Yes, so we had quite a few individuals in our room that knew quite a lot of the history of Norfolk, and we had a lot of expected and unexpected stories, as you said. So with our expected stories, it tended to be around the sea, so the beach, seals, boat hire, Cromer crabs, fish and chips. We also had a few descriptions like flat, rural, but we also had a description of sleepy Norfolk as kind of the expected stories. In the unexpected stories, though, we came up with a lot of really interesting historical stories, actually. So really highlighting kind of the rebellions that have kind of happened within North Norfolk, which is really interesting. So different World War II stories, like one about apparently Einstein hid from Hitler in Runton in North Norfolk and had a really great things to say about Norfolk in general. We have other stories about the first recorded Valentine's Day letter being written by the Paston family. So a lot of really interesting historical and natural experience stories that you don't necessarily expect from North Norfolk.
Jackie, thank you very much. That's really great, and a whole mixture of different things there as well. Lindsay, what did your group come up with? Where were you did you have a patch, or were you all over the show?
Yeah, we were mostly focused on, Kings Lynn and West Norfolk and the sort of the coast area and the Wash, and yeah, lots of great things came up for us as well. And kind of the expected stories for that area. We had things like the sort of the fishing and Hanseatic trade and heritage and history, the Sandringham and the royal history aspects there, the agricultural history, and then the flat landscape of that area. And birds and bird watching is another really kind of expected thing in that area in Norfolk. And on the unexpected side, there was loads of stuff, which was great. Things like, for example, the amazing kind of ancient woodland around Kings Lynn, and that offer, the fabulous trails walking offer that's in the region. When you think about agriculture, there's lots of innovation actually in agriculture that may be of kind of interest of young people looking for sustainable stories in that area, and also diversity in aquaculture as well. It's like lobster hatcheries and things like that, as well as great vineyards and breweries, and first-class ingredients. There's a couple of really interesting facts, like it's #1 area for metal detecting, and you could do an experience where you've got people do metal detecting and then visit some museums locally where people have found treasures in the area. So lots of really interesting ideas and great kind of unexpected stories from us. So yeah, it was really good.
Thanks, Lindsay. Some real mix of different things. And Helen, your group over you're mostly in Norwich, weren't you?
Yeah,
Mostly.
I think Lindsay's group was really hungry. We didn't think so much about food and drinks in ours, but actually, Joel, you did take the notes, so I don't have the notes with me. If you wouldn't mind. Brilliant.
Yeah, of course.
And it was a mix. I just wanted to say it was Norwich. I think we had people from South Norfolk and Breckland area.
Yeah, thanks, Helen. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so some of the expected stories that we talked about was obviously Norwich Castle, Norman history, the Broads, the rivers, the number of pubs in Norwich, almost comparable to the number of churches or vice versa. Landscape, big skies, horizons, the independent shops in Norwich, great destination for shopping. Some of the unexpected things that we then sort of talked about was perhaps the textile industry, and some people would know about that, but many people don't realise the history of the textiles industry in Norfolk and Norwich, and actually an extension of that is that there was unique like Norfolk horn fleeces, a particular colour, madder dye, and there's opportunities to perhaps bring that more to the attention of people, how unique some of these things were. Other things were red telephone boxes, the creative ways that villages around Norfolk are putting their red telephone boxes to use. Anti-urination devices in Norwich, I hadn't heard of those, but pieces of concrete to stop people using walls for things they shouldn't. Interesting thing to include on the tour, but quite unique. And some of the underground opportunities in Norwich as well. There's tunnels and there's chalk mines and some of these things that we hadn't heard of, so they definitely fell into the unexpected category.
Thanks, Joe. The anti-urine, that was quite an interesting experience there, a unique story. But it's those kind of unexpected little kind of gems of stories that make people laugh and just like, really? I didn't know that. They are great to have. It might not form the whole of your experience, but it might be nice things to include. So thanks very much for everybody there. Patricia, you were Great Yarmouth and a bit of Norwich. What stories did you come up with?
We were Great Yarmouth and a bit of Broadland, actually, Chris.
A bit of Broadland,
we had the expected and we kind of developed them into the unexpected. So for instance, we had mills. There's lots of wind pumps, wind generated energy, which we would expect to see. But we also then developed them into an amazing system amazing fact where the guy who lived in Dillon, which is a local village, invented a patented shutter speed for Horsey wind pump, which was then used at Crystal Palace. So that was kind of developing this wind pump thing. And also we looked at Norfolk churches, and then we managed to find the unexpected stories of that. Is that there was a church at East Somerton that was cursed by a witch, and a tree grew out of the middle. Thurn Church has got a spy hole link that apparently shows ley lines, and kind of on a religious theme as well. We've got a Hindu temple in Norfolk, which was unexpected. So lots of things we kind of developed from the unexpected, from the expected.
Cool, thank you very much, Patricia. And finally, Alana, what did your group come up with?
Hi, so we had a really interesting mix, an arc right across North Norfolk, starting at North Walsham, passing through into Cromer and then right up to Hunstanton. So we covered a really beautiful area of Norfolk and we're all very proud of it. We talked about the classic understanding of Cromer Pier and fish and chips, and the access to the marshes and the RSPB sites that they promote, and the beautiful walks that obviously can be accessed via the coast trail and also through the countryside and the landscape around North Norfolk. We then kind of went on to talk a bit more about our unexpected stories, with a real focus on hidden heritage. And so we're talking about Victorian things, things that have been lost to the sea, or perhaps a little bit more tucked away, apart from the amusements, but also the deep history coast and the chalk beds. So not only the human history, but also the geological features that make the coast and that North Norfolk area so very special. So we're looking at the big seas and the big skies, as well as the more unique man-made features such as the canals at North Walsham. So yeah, we had some really interesting things, and discussing how artists and crafters might be able to make the most of these natural features, so that they can kind of capitalize on those free aspects that are plentiful, to help kind of engage with tourists, but also maintain that unique community spirit of the area. So yeah, we did a good job. Thank you.
It sounds it. Alana, thank you very much. Thank you very much to everybody for contributing to that first activity. We will go on to activity 2 very shortly, but just before that, we're going to take a break. And before we go into the break, I've just got some trends to share with you, really. So these have really come up in the last year or so, thanks to COVID, but they are really kind of happening before the pandemic as well, because Booking.com and TripAdvisor were reporting back in early 2019 of some of these kind of characteristics and trends, not just here in the UK, but around the world, with the sense of people wanting to go off the beaten track. So whether they were going to Paris and then, booking a trip in Paris, they were looking for immersive experiences that went behind the scenes and off the beaten track in Paris and places like that. So we saw that happening already before the pandemic. With the pandemic, we're seeing more of that kind of sense of freely exploring and going off the beaten track. So that sense of, escaping from a large town or city, or if they are going to a city or larger town, then going off the beaten track, learning something new, reconnecting with the nature and wildlife and the great outdoors, improving their health and well-being, and feeling, that whole meditation and forest bathing that's really popular at the moment. They want to feel refreshed. They want to immerse themselves in the local arts and the culture and the local art community. They also want to feel that they can share with friends and family at that time, and also that sense of feeling they can freely explore. But also they want to support local independent businesses. So again, this is why it's really important to collaborate locally in your patch of Norfolk and work with other businesses, artists and individuals to deliver your experience. But we're going to take a short break now. We're going to restart in 5 minutes time. And we'll go then into our second activity, where we start looking at the people, place, and the participation within your experience ideas. Welcome back, everybody. A little good break there. So taking us now into our second workshop activity this evening, I just want to kind of share with you our target audiences, our markets that we're looking to work with going forward on this project, with the Experience Project, and very much about that off-season visitor market, where we tapping into those current trends that we're seeing currently, looking at people longing to escape and live like a local and actually have these authentic experiences. They might not necessarily be people that have children, or they might have children that are grown up and they've flown away. So we're kind of looking at that kind of 55 plus upwards, the millennial group, the people that might not all have children yet, if they're planning to have children. So basically no kids is what I'm saying. So they can travel outside of the school holiday times, and they have the time and money to spend as well. We're also keen to look at working experiences around the kind of cyclists and walkers market as well. And actually we've got a project, an accreditation scheme that we are working with Cycle UK at the moment, where we're giving out some free kits. So that there's more information about that will be shared with you via email after this workshop as well. And that's very much focused on the cyclists and walking type experiences that you might be offering within your own experience. But the phasing will be working obviously with the domestic market initially, but as soon as we can, we'll open up to the international market. But it's very much the German, the Netherlands, Belgium, and the French markets we'll be accessing. They're our nearest continental neighbours, of course, and travelling across the channel over to Norfolk. We know that the visitors that we're targeting, will be looking for low season tourism because they want that sense of escape. And we were looking for people that really kind of look for something that goes against the flow of crowds as well. And again, we're seeing that trends, as we saw in the previous slide happening. People are looking to go off season to actually get away from everybody else and actually see a destination in a different way. So it's a real positive. It's a real positive, and there's actually experiences being set up, just like what we're trying to do here in Norfolk, but all over the world where it's actually being run off season. So turn it into a positive and make it kind of a real feature of your new experiences. So that takes us into our second workshop activity, where we're going to rejoin the same breakout rooms that we were in previously. And in this session, we want you to start highlighting the three key components that will help share and tell some of the stories that we featured in our first breakout session. And we're going to ask you to identify the people, the place, and the participation in that experience. So between you in your groups, we want you to come up with one or two experiences as an example, just to see how it will work. So choose one of those stories or a combination of some of those stories and think about who might deliver that experience. Is it a combination of businesses or people or guides that will be delivering it? Where you're going to go, is it off the beaten track? Is it somewhere a little bit different? And what will the participation be? What will the activity be? What will the hands-on activity be for your guests? So, will they be making something, drawing, eating something, whatever it might be? Think about the different things, the activities that they will partake in those experiences as well. And also, when you're doing that, think about who you might be targeting and keep that experience idea sustainable as well. It's something we're definitely specialising in on this experience. So as I said, we're going to go away and look at those three key components: people, place, and participation. Bye. Welcome back, everybody. Good to see you all back. Hope you had a good final activity session. So once again, we're going to go around Norfolk and have a chat with all the facilitators and have a look at what experiences and the ideas around those experiences you developed. So Patricia, if I come to you first, what did you have one example, or was there a couple that you came up with?
We were working on lots of different threads and trying to link them all together. It's a bit of a tenuous link in some cases, but the process of working how we could do this was really interesting. The third theme came out, and we thought about comparing a tour around Norwich Market with the historical context of the food stalls. They were the stall holder, comparing it to the food maybe at the Hindu temple, and comparing the cultural clashes there, or cultural comparisons there, and how they might marry up. And we thought about the venues. Could be a double venue, maybe Norwich Market, and then maybe the train to Reedham, and then coming out to the temple. So we kind of got the bones of something together there.
Cool. Oh, that sounds good. Thanks very much, Patricia. Lindsay, what did your group come up with? And again, did you have one experience, or was it a few?
We started working on 3 experiences really. So there was a lot of really cool ideas we wanted to sort of flesh out a little bit. The first one was a kind of field to fork experience, thinking about the kind of agricultural history in the area. You could, go out, dig your own potato with a farmer. You'd have to get, a farmer at the right time of year, and someone who's looking to diversify, for example. But do the sort of pick your own, and you could then kind of maybe sort of go into sort of the sort of processing that chip, and so the manufacturers, the sort of smaller scale manufacturers, and then go in, have a sort of lovely walk to a nearby fish and chip shop, and then eat the potato. So kind of have that kind of field to fork experience. And you could do things like include a takeaway of some of the products as part of the whole experience price, and you can kind of build that in, so that really benefits sort of everyone along the sort of the field to fork process as well. So it's another interesting aspect. So that was quite a cool one. The other one was a royal experience, drawing on that kind of Sandringham history and the big ground houses that are here in this area. So many really interesting ideas in this around kind of participation and the people you might involve. So thinking about maybe you could involve someone who used to work in close proximity to the royals, like a retired housekeeper, or someone who might have some interesting stories to tell and could make some scones or things like that. And people want to, it'd be interesting to have some access to rooms that maybe you might not normally be able to, that kind of VIP treatment. And you could do things like the royals do, take your dogs out for walks. Kate Middleton likes gardening, or maybe kind of be a butler or housekeeper for the day or something. Learn a lot of the kind of royal etiquette things. So there's a lot of kind of really interesting participatory elements in that one. And then the last one that we're looking at was a kind of metal detecting experience. So I mentioned after the last one that kind of interesting fact about #1 spot for metal detecting. So thinking about seeking out lots of local experts and their expertise, and making the links with museums and the kind of history of local treasures, and kind of maybe going to some of the places that have been featured in Time Team. And there's a really interesting fact about Swaffham and Tutankhamun that kind of came into it too. But yeah, so we kind of got started on that one, didn't get finished. But yeah, lots of really, really fun, interesting, cool ideas from us.
Yeah, definitely the cool idea. So in summary, you've got a potato experience, walk the Queen's dogs, and dig up her treasures.
Exactly.
But not all one experience though. I love the potato one. I love that story. That's really following up on the story, taking it all that kind of field to fork experience. Really popular. Thanks very much to everybody involved in coming up with those ideas. Jackie, how did you guys get on coming up with your experiences?
Good. We kind of started off thinking about several different things, but we settled on the sort of hidden histories, and potentially doing things like having guided tours with people in costume, and just really trying to show how we're being connected throughout time. Potentially have some kind of well-being sessions, but think about stories like the Paston family, or maybe have a focus on strong feminist stories, and then have themed lunches as well with those different kind of tour packages, if you will. So we were thinking about maybe encouraging women or female entrepreneurs to participate in some of these experiences, and maybe getting the Paston Theatre or reenactment groups, the Diggers, to help out to give these sort of hidden history tours. And there were several places, including Bacton, Paston, that we could potentially host these different events. So really just kind of focusing on that hidden history of North Norfolk that we started talking about in the first workshop.
Yeah, that sounds good. Look, lots of kind of starts of ideas there that could easily be developed into multiple different experiences there. So thanks Jackie, and thanks to everybody for your contribution. Let's go to Alana next. How did you get on with looking at the experiences where you are?
So we found it really hard to pick just one, but we kind of had a nuanced sense of something that might kind of start to evolve into something a bit more particular. We knew that we wanted to look at, making the most of the outdoors and walking, and potentially looking at involving crafters or makers, artists and photographers in something that then became like a bespoke experience, along a walk, exploring the landscape or the townscape through the eyes of an artist, perhaps then culminating in a photography workshop. I'm very sorry about my budgies. Or a painting, a teasel session, or taking inspiration back to a workshop, potentially even getting those reenactment groups that Jackie was just mentioning, but actually getting them to pose for paintings, either in an artist's studio or actually on site by waterways and in the countryside. So we had some really kind of like exciting ideas that certainly deserve more development, but a real sense of kind of wanting to create added value within the communities and the landscape, and making sure that where possible, particularly for the less commercial companies and groups that were in my group, that volunteers really needed to be at the heart of it, as a way of kind of galvanizing a sense of local pride and sustainable industry for the communities where these are taking place. So no set ideas, but actually some really strong thought-provoking considerations from everybody in the group.
Absolutely, sounds very much so. And those reenactment things sound really great, but also remember that your guests can also reenact some of this as well. So you can give them a costume and tell them what they need to reenact, and actually that's really immersive then as well. So some good ideas. And big question that we're all thinking, Alana, are you going to be doing a budgie experience, or no reenactments there? Thanks, Alana.
No, thank you.
Helen and Joel, how did you get in your group? Go on your group.
Yeah, really good, Chris. Yeah, we talked a lot. We started with an idea about having a guided cycle tour around the red telephone boxes that we talked about earlier, and actually where you would chance upon one of these telephone boxes, and there would be vouchers or clues inside them, perhaps options, for where you would go next, which telephone box, options or places to eat, perhaps discount vouchers, and you could be guided around the lovely part of Norfolk by doing something like that, where it's interactive as well. And then we moved on to, again, trying to sort of pull out the strong medieval themes of Norwich itself. And we talked again about some of what Jackie mentioned about the sort of secret hidden side of Norwich, and how that really is enticing for visitors to be part of that and perhaps find out something that not many people know about. We would perhaps give guided underground tours in medieval tunnels, and then whilst in the tunnel, perhaps you could do something like write a letter by candlelight with feather and ink, seal it with wax, and that could be a memento. You then move on to some sort of medieval banquet, partnering with some sort of food venue. So again, it's all about that immersive, audience participation, and perhaps utilize local theatre companies to take part in that as well. So yeah, lots talked about, and some really strong ideas.
Definitely. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Joel. And thank you again to everybody for your contributions in both of our workshop activities this evening. Lots of really good and useful ideas there to develop and take away. If there isn't necessarily an experience in the examples that we've just given there that you might not want to develop, you obviously hopefully will have your own ideas as well, but that's just giving you kind of an introduction to how experiences really can be developed as well. So hopefully that's whet your appetite this evening. Many of you within the sessions were talking about cost and pricing and all those kind of things. So this next part of the workshop, I really want to spend some time on kind of going through how that all works, and crucially your markets that you're working with, the audiences, whether that's in the UK or in Germany or France or Belgium, as we've heard earlier. That's really important to understand those markets of where you're looking to entice people on to take bookings and actually to come on your experience. So we are obviously thinking about the domestic market right at the moment. And we know on average, us UK folk like to spend around about £45 on a half-day experience. That's on average, and that often includes a light bite, maybe a cup of tea, a sandwich, that kind of thing within the experience. That's around about £45 for an kind of an international market, depending where they're coming from, but people that are further afield might spend a bit more on an experience, kind of up to £60–65. But on average, the domestic market at the moment, £45. So that gives you an idea of the kind of what you want to charge, but you'll need to do some work on actually working out your pricing before you work out what you're going to charge as well. So on the screen there, you'll see an example of what it costs per person and for a group of 4. So once you've worked out how big your group's going to be, again, we always encourage that experiences are smaller groups. So, groups of 4, 6, 8, you don't really want to go much more than 12 people because you lose that immersiveness, that kind of uniqueness of the experience where you're spending that time and building that relationship with all your guests and vice versa. So you want to keep it quite small, but you need to factor that in of what you're going to be costing your experiences in what you do. So if you're including food and drink, if you've got any hire, any equipment, you're paying to go and access a venue, whether that's a museum or a winery, etc., you need to kind of cost that all in. You also need to think about your insurance and licensing as well. So you'll need to have public liability insurance to run these kind of experiences, which you can get from an insurance broker around about £70 a year. There are some online travel agents that actually will insure you for your experience, and I'll cover that off in just a few moments' time. Licensing, really important if you're transporting your guests from A to B and using a vehicle throughout that experience. You will need to have a special license, like a taxiing license, from your local district or unitary council in order to transport your guests. However, if you're looking to not use public transport, obviously you won't need to have those various licensing, but there is licensing obviously with food and drink. If you're providing or cooking or having a cookery experience, those kind of things, you'll need to have the relevant information and licensing from your district or unitary council as well. But they're the costs that you'll need to factor in. Therefore, that will give you an idea of what it will be per person or per group of 4 people, etc. And you can work out what you'll need to charge, but also how many people you'll need to have on your experience when you start taking a profit. So this is all these slides will be shared with you after the session this evening as well. So you have that as an example. So bookability, being bookable online, really important to obviously be bookable and have these experiences ready for your guests, wherever they might be in the UK or later around the world, is to have them bookable online so they can find you and they can book. So you're not reliant just on having information on a website or your own website. You want to be bookable in as many places as possible, so basically your guests will find you. And the stats that you see from Visit Britain on the screen there were done actually in 2019, and we've seen a real trend of people looking for the types of experiences that they might want to do, but also where they want to do those types of experiences as well. And back in 2019, we saw that 65% of the UK domestic market were booking experiences way before leaving home. So they weren't waiting to get to a destination on holiday or a day trip to do an experience, they were booking in advance. And obviously with the pandemic, we're all booking to go to the pub or go to a National Trust property, etc. So we've all got into that habit of booking. So that figure is going to grow from 65%, I think, to 99% this coming year, because we've all got that habit of actually being bookable. So that's great if you're a smaller business, because you're going to have that advance warning that the guests come in because they are booking well in advance of traveling. And also when we open up to the international markets, we know that the international visitors tend to book further in advance as well. So you've got that good lead in time. You know how many people you're going to have on your different experiences when they book up in advance. So distribution, taking your experiences to markets. There are various routes when you take your experiences to market, and there's different ways in actually selling your experiences. And I'm just going to take you through some of the examples now to give you an idea of how it all works and the opportunities there are out there. These are just some of the online travel agents that exist in the marketplace. We know them as OTAs, online travel agents, and I'll take you through them now. So TripAdvisor is well known obviously for reviewing and hotels and all that kind of thing, but they're the biggest player in experiential tourism at the moment around the world. So TripAdvisor Experiences, the biggest player, you can onboard, that means add your experience to TripAdvisor, and it's totally free to add, but you'll pay a commission. So their commission on average is around about £25% off bookings of your booking. So you'll need to factor that into your costs. So going back to the slide we looked at earlier on, where we looked at all the different costs, you'll need to put that cost, that commission, into your cost of your experience. And don't think of it being taken away as a commission. Think of that 25% being your marketing fee, because those TripAdvisor and the other online travel agents you'll see on the screen there are really doing the marketing for you. They're reaching the customers that you just cannot reach on your own. So you would have to have a mega big marketing budget to reach the potential customers that the guys that you see on the screen there, the OTAs, that they'll reach for you. So you're giving up that 25% as an example with TripAdvisor in order to find you those bookings. So TripAdvisor is one OTA. Another one is Unmissable England, which is my organisation. We're a much smaller and specialist online travel agent, and we work with small regional experiences across regional England, and we very much market our experiences at the domestic, but also the North American market once that reopens as well. Our commission is set at 15% or 10% if you're a charity or non-profit. Expedia, again, big player in hotels and holidays and flights and those kind of things, but pretty much a latecomer when it comes to experiential tourism. Their commission is set at 25%. As I said, it's not one of the big players when it comes to experiential tourism at the moment, but they are moving in that direction. Get Your Guide is really popular for tours and the whole kind of tour and activity market. But again, they've been moving in the direction of experiential tourism. Their commission is based on the size of your organization. So that will be anything from like 20, 25 to 30% commission. But a big brand and well known in many different countries around the world as well. Airbnb, well known, of course, for holiday and cottage lets and apartments and room lets. but again, a big player in experiential tourism with Airbnb Experiences, and second after TripAdvisor. Now, Airbnb is a little bit different to the rest of the online travel agents that you see on the screen, because their experiences, they would like to see their experiences exclusive. So Airbnb guests on Airbnb Experiences, that's how they work. But what they will do is actually give you that insurance, the public liability insurance to cover you and your guests on your experience. Now, this works particularly well for smaller businesses or startups or individuals wanting to run experiences, because they will cover you for that insurance, the insurance as well. But they will want you to actually sell those experiences exclusively on Airbnb. So the way you can do that is have Airbnb days. So if you want to be on Airbnb and you want to be on other online travel agents, then many different organizations and businesses and experience providers tend to have Airbnb days so they can actually work with other online travel agents. Booking.com is also a latecomer to experiential tourism. Very much they're more holiday-led and activities, but there are some experiences on there. And TUI Amusement as well, also a little bit latecomer to experiential tourism. But if you're an attraction business in the room, then your experiences will do well on TUI Amusement, because it's very much attraction-led experiences that they do have there. That's just a summary of some of the some of the online travel agents that exist out there in the marketplace. There are many more. There's lots of different OTAs out there. I would suggest you, if you're looking to sell on online travel agents, that you go and shop around and have a look at what's out there and choose one or two that really works for you, and that you know, it's reaching the audience that you want to reach. Sticking with distribution and routes to market, the next slide is a little bit complex. This is how the complex distribution network works when you're looking to distribute your experiences and taking those experiences to market. So in blue, all the different the graphics there you see in blue, they're all online travel agents. So they're all the ones I've spoken about already. And you can go direct to any of those online travel agents and onboard your experiences and add them. And a couple of hours time, they'll be live on those websites and you'll be taking bookings. So you can do that independently, or you can go via the different routes. So one of the routes we're highlighting tonight is the TXGB route. So they're in green. TXGB stands for Tourism Exchange Great Britain. Now, it's a platform developed by Visit England, Visit Britain, which is the National Tourist Board. And they developed this platform to link into various different ways to take in your experiences to market. So therefore, you go to txgb.co.uk and then you onboard your experiences, and it gives you options to put that experience through Expedia, TripAdvisor experiences, also through your DMO websites as well, so destination management organizations like Visit Norfolk. But also there is a function where you can put a widget onto your own website as well. So that's TXGB, and there will be more information given out through this project later on in the coming weeks. But that's just one way. Another way is that you might already have your own booking system like FareHarbor or TrekSoft, and again, there's many out there. And that booking system will also have links to some of these online travel agents and some of those websites. So as I said, it's quite a complex model and distribution network out there. There'll be some more support through this project, through taking your experiences to market through Tourism Exchange Great Britain, TXGB. But also in the meantime, please do have a look at the different online travel agents out there and see what works for you. That comes on to our checklist now before I hand back over to Helen, and there's a chance to answer any of your questions tonight. So if there's anything that doesn't quite make sense, or you want to ask us a question, then please feel free to pop it into the chat window right now so that I can get answering those questions shortly. But here's our checklist of things to get ready when you're getting your experiences ready. Make sure that you have your insurance ready. Make sure that you have your licensing and any food hygiene certificates if you're offering any food or drink in your experiences. So it's quite easy to do when it comes to food hygiene. You can contact your local district or unitary council, and they will give, with the licensing, will give you the relevant license to run your experience. So for example, my experience is at home, so therefore I've got my license with my local district council in order to run that experience from my home. Again, the food hygiene certificate is actually run through websites, so you can go online and actually do a Google search for food hygiene certificates, and for around about £25 you can get a certificate to say that you've got the qualification there to run your experience as well. Please read all the terms and conditions, your T's and C's, before accepting any online travel agent, the OTAs there, because when you sign up, you're agreeing to your cancellation, to their cancellation policy. So you need to make sure, how long will guests have until they want to cancel or reschedule? When will you be paid out? All those different things are included in the terms and conditions of the online travel agent. So when you sign up, please make sure that you read all the T's and C's so you're really happy and confident with what you're signing up to. The good thing is with any online travel agent is that if it's not working out for you, or you're not getting bookings, or you don't like the way that they're working, or that guests are cancelling at very short notice, you can cancel that contract with your online travel agent as well. So as long as you've got no bookings that you need to honour, you can actually come off that online travel agent. So you're not tied into some long contract that's going to last for 5 years, etc. They're quite flexible, and you can adjust that and come off that if it's not working for you. Think about the markets. So we've given you an example of what we've told you about the various different markets that we're working with in this project. So we really want you to go away and think about the markets that we're looking to attract and work with and target. But we also want you to think about those guests and those potential guests and how you can actually create the right kind of experiences for those audiences. And also have a pricing plan that really does include the service fees. So that's the commissions of those online travel agents or any booking software as well. So actually include it. So it's not a surprise when you come to sell and market your experiences. It's something you've already thought of when you're looking and working out your pricing. And that goes for everything when you're thinking about your pricing. That's your time in marketing, your social media, any kind of food or drink or entrance to a venue. Include that all into your pricing plan so you know up front how much it's going to cost you to run your experience. And finally, have availability so you can run these experiences. So we always say availability is visibility. Some online travel agents will only show your experiences if you have dates in your calendar. If you've got no dates, then you're not going to come up on their website. You're not going to come up in searches. You're not going to come up on Google search. So it's really important you have dates onboarded. Sometimes I find that some smaller businesses really struggle with their availability and can only offer a few dates a month. That's fine, that is okay. But my suggestion is that you actually add more dates onto these different websites and online travel agents, and actually add more on, so actually you're being found by potential customers. But as soon as you get a booking, you might want to take dates off. So basically you over kind of advertise your dates. Say you want to run your experience once a week, but you actually put 5 days up available to book. But as soon as somebody books that Monday, you might take the other 4 days off. So you can concentrate all your bookings onto that Monday. So any new bookings will also be added to that Monday. So that's one technique you can use to actually have that availability and appear in more searches. So that checklist, as I said, it's all there for you in our slide deck that we'll share with you after the session this evening. I'm going to hand over to Helen now.
Okay, so I am now going to talk to you about kind of the next steps and the opportunities working with us. I just wanted to let you know that this project is evolving, and there will be more and more opportunities with us. And I wanted to let you know that we are currently working on our marketing campaign for this winter, and we are looking for sustainable off-season experiences that are ready. So I know that some of you, you have an experience like nearly ready to go. So if you're interested, we are welcoming the submission of an activity form, we call it. We will send it to you by email, but it's a very simple form. And if you want to be, to be considered in this marketing campaign for this winter, we have a window for submission of this activity form, which will which is already open and will close on Friday, the 16th of July. And you can send it to us at experience@norfolk.gov.uk. But again, we will send you all the details by email, and we will send you the presentation anyway. Something I wanted to tell you, of course, we know that everyone is not at the same stage in developing an experience. Some of you are really at the beginning, thinking maybe about doing something. Some of you might have a little bit more ideas of what they want to do. And this is actually kind of the point of the project. It's also to, to support you in developing your experiences. We'll have some experts like Chris to help you along the way, and to think about what you can do and how we can support you. But yeah, if you want to be aware of different type of opportunities and the future training that we are going to do, we'll definitely do some trainings around marketing, because I think it's very essential. Probably some trainings around storytelling as well, because having a good story is important when we speak about experiences. But anyway, yeah, if you want to be kept aware on any trainings and marketing opportunities, just register to our Norfolk newsletter. So again, you've got the email address on the screen. So that was that. Something also I wanted to let you know is still around marketing. We will be building a new tourism website, and on this website we will promote sustainable experiences in Norfolk. And it will be a mix, really. We've done a lot of research and we've looked at a lot of experiences that you could do that are for free, like a nice walk around in Norfolk and discover those hidden gems. But there will also obviously will have some paid for experiences. So, your activities basically, and those activities will really showcase the best that Norfolk has to offer during the off season. So, between October and March. And this website will be our main marketing tool. So as I said earlier during this presentation, we are looking to have at least 250 activities on the website by March 2023. So yeah, again, I just wanted to reassure that if you're not ready yet to submit a full activity form, you can just be reassured that we will have some other opportunities coming. I also wanted to let you know, for the ones that have a bit of an activity going on, but you're not completely sure, or you need some specific help, you're looking at, I don't know, yeah, you want some specific support, you could still fill this activity form and just let us know, as a note. Okay, this is what I'm thinking now. I would like to have some support on this or on that. And we will look at it, we will contact you, we will see how we can help you best. We might be able to, to point you throughout some, specific trainings if we are not putting them up, or we will organize some trainings. We are really looking at, we really want to take your feedback on and develop some trainings that are useful for you. So don't hesitate. So basically, yeah, don't hesitate to contact us. Another thing is, I told you earlier as well that we are working with French and English partners, and we have a website for the wider project. So if you want to have a look at this website, again, it's on the screen. It's www.tourismexperience.org. And just before we go, I think, Maria, we do have a short poll, or Chris, we have a short poll with just one question, and we would be delighted if you could fill that in. Yeah. So basically, we want to know where you are at on the experience development journey. So there are several options. I'm interested in developing one, and I am here for more information. I have an idea, but I haven't done any research yet. I have an idea and I'm, busy researching. I have an experience ready to market. So if you do, send it to us. I'm already offering an experience to visitor. Again, if you already have some experiences to visitor, we might be able to include you in our marketing for this winter. So contact us. And I'm not going to offer an experience, but the concept is relevant for my work, or to me, or for my work. Brilliant. Okay. I think I'm going to end this now. I think nearly everyone has voted. Brilliant, thank you. So now, looking at the results, I don't know if it's you, Chris, sharing the results. Or Maria, potentially. Or are you all seeing the results? Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing them.
Brilliant. Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, so yeah, we do have a good mix actually. We have several people with an ID and already looking into it. That's great. Yeah, and as I said, the ones that have an experience ready to market or that are already doing it, just send your activity form to us. Brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think that was it really. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for all your participation. That was great to have those, small groups talks, and it was really interesting to see that, not any group really came up with the same ideas. So I think it's really fascinating. But yeah, so thank you very much again. I know it's a late evening, so I will let you go. But yeah, just keep in touch, and we'll do some more trainings in the autumn. So have a lovely summer. Send us your activities, and hopefully we'll see you back in the autumn.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.